Welcome back. Our sports editor OG Molefe joins us now from the FNB Stadium. Let's get his take as someone who covered the 2010 World Cup. OG, I tell you, whether you were a soccer lover or not, you were just swept by Philip's wave and it just took you, you know. So talk us through some of, your fondest memories as you look back in 2010 as someone who covered some of the games.
Well, Dudu, good afternoon. I'm reminded this afternoon of just how cold it was 5 years ago in 2010 as we were all gearing up for that famous game between Bafana Bafana and Mexico. For me, it was, one thing that, we'll never forget in my life. Covering the 2010 FIFA World Cup in your own country, it's something you hardly imagine will happen in your lifetime. So when it does come to your doorstep, it's something that you lap up very much so. It was definitely, making crossroads across the country, covering a lot of different matches, especially the Bafana Bafana matches. It was great to see South Africans come together to support this team that, was hoping to sort of, make us a success on the African continent. But besides the football pitch, I think the camaraderie of every South African and even those who visited our shores was something to admire over that month that was the World Cup was here on our shores.
And what gains have been made in terms of football development in the country? You've got obviously your FNB stadiums, your Moses Mabidas, which are very evident that they have brought change. But at grassroots level, have there been any changes?
That's the sad part, Dudu. There is the World Cup Legacy Trust that was supposed to help in developing the game in South Africa. Just behind our cameras here, we've got a few football pitches that were earmarked for development, but I hardly ever see any football being played on them. Instead, you see them used as car parks, especially during the Soweto derby, which is really sad. There have been a number of artificial football pitches that have been, planted across the country, but they definitely haven't produced the type of footballers we'd like to see. At the moment, Bafana Bafana preparing for the 2017 AFCON qualifiers, and the head coach is struggling to get players that are going to play for the national team. 5 years on, you would think that we would not have that sort of issues. You would have hoped that the South African Football Association would have developed enough players and enough talent pool for a coach Shakes Mashaba to be able to draw on and still have top quality players that will represent us with great pride going into the African Cup of Nations qualifiers. So in terms of the legacy that the World Cup has left, it hasn't been the greatest one.
And OG, what's the sense that you've been getting from people that you've been speaking to, or ordinary South Africans? Do they care? Do they still remember?
They definitely care, Dudu. South Africans are happy that the World Cup came to our country. If you think about it, for the average South African on the street, they probably will never get to experience a World Cup anywhere in the world. So for it to be brought to our doorsteps, for them to be able to buy tickets cheaper and experience watching some of the best footballers in the world come to our country for a month and parade their skills is something they'll never forget. Yes, now we are hit by the corruption scandals regarding the 2010 bribes and so on. And for many, they hope that the perpetrators are actually brought to book, but they are still appreciative of the fact that the World Cup did come to Africa for the first time and did come to South Africa.
ENCA sports editor OG Molefe speaking to us from FNB Stadium, where the first game of the tournament kicked off.